All right, give it a second. I want to get the other concurrent stream going. Give me a second. Howdy, 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 everybody. There we go. Awesome. Get that one going. Give it a second. We're going to get started here right at 6, everybody. So, really good. Just want to get my Instagram one going, too, and then we should be good to go. There we go, everybody. Awesome. Let's go live. All right, we are live, everybody. So, give it a little bit, and we'll get this show going. Awesome. Looking good, everybody. Just getting it ready. Awesome, awesome. We're getting it going. I'm just checking one last thing, and then we'll get this show going, everybody. So this is a really good one. We got a cool board we're doing today, folks. So this is going to be awesome. So, all right, everybody. I think we're going to get this one going. So, all right, everybody. We got a board I've been sitting on for a little over a week now at this point, but we're finally going to get it built. So we're doing a Cherry MX build today. We're not doing Topre or Alps or any kind of vintage stuff. This is a vintage-inspired keyboard from Studio. This is the Class 65 V3 that we are going to be doing today, everybody. So this is a board I ordered on Group Buy earlier this year, and it arrived, I'd say, about a week and a half ago. And it's been just kind of, I've been so busy and had a pretty big backlog. I just haven't had time to get this board in order. So really happy to finally get it going. So we're going to get through it. So we have the board. We'll kind of go through parts too that we're going to use for this build today. So first one right here in terms is going to be our keycap selection. So keycaps today are going to be GMK Led Zep R2. This is another keycap set that I got off of Group Buy earlier this year. It arrived, I'd say, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So really cool keycap set. I'm a big metalhead, big rock and roll fan. So when this set announced in R2, I knew I had to get it. So this is going to be a really awesome set that we're going to utilize. For switches, since we are going Cherry MX, we're going Gateron today. So we're using Gateron Quinn Tactile switches with the 59-gram actuation force. So these are switches I've had for a really long time. I got them specifically for this build. I wanted to put these switches in this board. So those are going to be awesome. And then the last part that we're going to go over are going to be stabilizers. We're going to be using Type Plus, again, screw-in stabilizers. So those are going to be really nice. So let's kind of look at the different parts and kind of go over the configuration that we're going to be doing for this particular board. So really haven't opened up this board and taken a look at it. So I'm really excited. So, all right. So here we got a bunch of the components. So we have our top mount components. We are going to be top mounting this. I am a big fan of top mounting. We have our pour-on gaskets. We have our feet that go on the bottom of the board. We have an extra ribbon cable for the daughter board and everything. So we got a bunch of little extras, which are really nice. So stick those over to the side. And then I'll kind of go over the first kind of selection that I made. So for this particular keyboard, I opted to go with a brass plate on this particular board. I like the sound of brass, and I also like that it gives the board a little more heft. This board is already ridiculously heavy, so this is just going to add more weight to the board. So it's a really nice brass plate that we're going to utilize, so that's going to be really nice. We have our foam. I am not going to be putting any foam in this board. I'm not a fan of foam in keyboards. So, but that's just my personal preference. And then we have 2 PCBs here. So my rule of thumb when you get into keyboards, always get a spare PCB. Again, if you kill a PCB or a PCB fails on you, especially if it's a board that's something more proprietary, Studio PCBs are pretty proprietary. You're kind of SOL and your board is just basically dead. So always get a spare PCB. You probably will never use it, but hey, in case the PCB dies, you have a spare. So that's my kind of rule of thumb. So let's kind of take a look at this PCB. And oh, it is yellow, everybody. So we're going rocking a yellow PCB for this board. So this is awesome. So we're using pogo pins, and we also opted to go with solder because, of course, we're always gonna go solder if we can. So there we go. You can see that Class 65 V3. This is a really nice PCB, 1.6 mil, which is always nice. And this PCB just looks really, really clean. This is gonna be awesome. I cannot wait to get these switches in, get the stabilizers in, and we'll get all that soldered up, which is gonna be really nice. So I got all those pieces, and then let's get the star of the show, which is gonna be our actual keyboard. So I'll show you the colorway that I opted to go for, and we'll kind of go through some of the configurations I did. And just want to see if there's anything else in here. Nope, nothing. Cool. Let's get our little key. It's not little. This thing is a 65% keyboard, and it's absolutely massive. It's this is a chunky boy. So here we go. So here's the actual keyboard. So the Class 65 is a kind of unusual in terms of its layout. So you have your standard 65% layout that is familiar. You got your little navigation cluster. It's kind of exploded away from the rest of the board. But we have this macro cluster right here. So you can either put some F-row keys, or you could put a bunch of novelties here and make them macro keys. So the novelties in GMK Led Zep are really, really cool. So we're going to definitely take advantage of the novelties for this macro column and also our navigation cluster. So we're really going to get creative with the novelties today. But I opted to go with the beige colorway on this particular board. I knew I wanted to put GMK Led Zep on this board, so this was kind of the colorway I felt went best with that, with GMK Led Zep. So we have our centered USB port right there, which is really nice, and also very, very clean, kind of classy back. So we have our 8 screws, so this is not a hidden screw design on this particular board. And one thing just about MM Studio, I'm just a big fan of MM Studio boards. I have this will be my third MM Studio board for my personal collection. I have the Class 80 R2 and I have the MM0413. Both of those boards are built in taupe. I asked MM Studio if they would do an electrocapacitive or taupe kit for this board, and they said there's no plans at the moment to do that. MM Studio has pretty much fulfilled this group buy, and the next project from MM Studio is going to be their first full size ever, which is going to be the Class 100. And that's a board I'm really excited to join the group buy on that, because I'm a big fan of full size, and especially coming from MM Studio. So there's a reason I have multiples of their boards. I really love them. Yeah. All right, what's up, everybody? Hello. So it's always a fun time, chat. Thank you so much. So this is gonna be a really cool board. So I wanted really would like to open up the case and just kind of take a look at what's kind of going on in here. So let me grab my little screw tray, and let's get a screw and kind of open this up. I'm like, oh God, you guys are rating me. Hi, friends. Oh my God. Well, I love you guys so much. Thank you, friends. I'm not expecting this. I know Alex was streaming tonight. So again, huge thank you to Alex Odos. God, hi Alex Odos' peeps. What's up, everybody? Holy crap, everybody! I love you guys so much. Oh my gosh! Holy cow! Hi everybody. I'm just a guy. Welcome everybody. So we're doing the Class 65. So hello friends. I love this. I just want to take a pause. I love this community. I love people. I just love all y'all. So I've had the opportunity to meet people in person at Meet. So just thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you. If you want to tune in, you want to give a follow. Again, I'm just a guy who builds keyboards in his man cave. So if you want an actual professional, go follow Alex's stuff. But yeah, thanks so much, folks. Again, we're not doing Alps. We're doing Cherry MX this evening. So we're doing the Class 65 R3. And then we're going to be putting GMK Led Zep on this board, and we're going to pair that with Gateron Quinn Tactile switches. So, yeah, so I'm a big bird guy, so a little fun fact about me, I have pet birds, so I got this from, this is the desk mat for GMK Cluck, and I actually got it from the designer Chicken Man himself. Oh, wow. So yeah, thank you, friends. I didn't expect that. So yeah, we're building the Class 65 V3. And just a little teaser for tomorrow, folks, while I have you guys here, we're going to be taking a look at a board. For those of you who are coming over from Alex Odos, I have the Keybay Tech Secret, which we were going to be building on stream tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. So I am one of the lucky people who got sent a unit to take a look at. So I watched Alex's stream, and I kind of took notes on what to kind of feature on that board, and we're going to be doing some really cool stuff with the secret tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. So I got the silver with blue accents. So I have a couple blue GMK sets and some cool switches we're going to build this puppy out with tomorrow, but we're going to do that tomorrow to kind of take a look at the board, give some feedback, and this is going to be a really cool board. So again, thank you to Keybay Tech, and again, if you're interested in learning about the secret and joining its group buy, again, definitely tune into our stream tomorrow. We're definitely going to take a look at that. So let's put that to the side too. So thank you so much, friends. So yeah, we're going to be jumping into this. So I just want to unscrew the case because this is my first time opening this board. I've had it for literally like a week. I've just been so busy. If you're not here in the United States, we just came off Thanksgiving. So it was just a really busy family time last week. So really, really awesome to kind of take advantage of this. So yeah, the Secret's a really cool board. I just opened the box just to see what colorway I got because I just wanted to figure out what, from my GMK inventory and Switch inventory, what switches and keycaps would go really good with the board to kind of showcase the board. So for that board, I think we're probably going to go either GMK Blue Alert or GMK Cubed. So I may have comment in the chat if you're interested in Blue Alert or Cubed for the blue, and like this, it's mostly silver with blue accents. The nice thing with the silver, it kind of goes with everything, but I figured with the blue accents, I figure we might as well go with something that's more blue accented. So my only two blue sets I have available in my GMK collection are going to be Cubed and like Blue Alert. So I've been looking for a board to do GMK Cubed with, so we'll definitely take a look at both. I'll probably build it with both tomorrow just to kind of showcase both keycap sets, but we'll just kind of see. So, but yeah, this is a really cool board. Also, just if you're unfamiliar with MM Studio, MM Studio is a design studio based out of China, and they pretty much produce retro-inspired keyboards, which is really cool. I have 3 of their keyboards. So I have the Class 80 and I have the Class 0413. And their boards are just kind of known for really taking aesthetics and design cues from keyboards that have long since passed. So, and as someone who's into vintage boards, this is really cool. So, one cool thing about this board, this is an improvement over previous MM Studio boards, is we're going with pogo pin connectors, which I think is a really, really nice thing. Because those of you who have like a Class 80, you can know how much of a pain in the butt it is to deal with their JST connectors. So being able to go with, like in the 0413, they did ribbon cables, which was a nice addition. And then this is the first board that features pogo pins, which I really appreciate. But again, we have our pogo pin assembly right here. And then they, so fun thing, so use chopsticks. So their next project is going to be the Class 100, which is going to be their first foray into full-size territory. So that's a really cool board. One thing about this board, I purchased this with my own money. This is just me taking a look at the board and building it for y'all. I've asked MM Studio, and they said they're kind of tied up with sending people units and whatnot. So I said, okay, I'm still going to buy it. So I will be buying a Class 100 when it comes out. But what's cool, we have one thing that's kind of trademark with MM Studio is to give you even more of a retro aesthetic. They put in a solenoid. So this is basically a mechanism that just makes your keyboard even louder. And then to even make it even more insane, they have a beeper up here. So you can turn on both. And when we get the board built, we'll definitely showcase both of them, which is going to be really, really cool, folks. So really cool board. I also do appreciate in terms of design, also having the glare inspired kind of cuts here. This is just really helps with sound and things like that. And then other just selection pieces we did. I'd be absolutely, well, they made a polycarbonate version of this particular board. It looks freaking sick. The people who have gotten this board, I've seen other people's builds. The polycarbonate builds have coming out amazing. So, I mean, because I just recently built my 0413 with their topiary kit. They didn't make a lot of topiary kits for the 0413. And also there's been a lot of demand for the 0413 because they only made 200 of those units, and each one is numbered. And a lot of people have been asking, like, when's the 0413 going to come back? And MM Studio has said that their next project after the Class 100 will be the 0413 R2, which is going to be really, really cool. So MM Studio only does one project at a time. So they just finished fulfillment on the Class 65. So I'd say Q1, maybe early Q2, they're going to run the Class 100. And then once they get those manufactured and delivered, probably second half of 2026, we'll see the 0413 R2. So those are going to be their 2 projects for 2026, which is going to be really awesome. So there we go. I just want to take a look at the case, and this is literally my first time kind of assembling this board. So let's take it in. What's up, everybody? So again, those of you who come in from Alex's stream, again, just thank you. That's all I can say. So we're going to put the case to the side. Also for me, if you know, I'm a big fan of solder. This board came in hot swap, and both PCBs share the same level of compatibility. Normally with PCBs, the solder version usually has more selection in terms of layouts. I really appreciate Studio listened to people in the interest check, and people were saying your hot swap has terrible compatibility. Give us the compatibility of the solder. So if you order a hot swap version of this board, you will get the same exact layout compatibility as the solder version, which is really, really nice. And then my last selection I made on this board, I opted for a brass plate. I'm a big fan of metal plates, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. I have a couple Cherry MX builds that have brass plates. So I opted to make this board even more insane and more ridiculous to put a brass plate in. So this plate is absurdly heavy for what it is, which is pretty cool. So this is really awesome. So we're going to stick our plate and also our PCB to the side, and we're going to focus on our stabilizer. So we have some Type Plus stabilizers. These stabilizers have really been growing on me. I've been historically a fan of Durox stabilizers, but I did some client commission builds where they requested these particular stabilizers, and they just have grown on me. So really, really big fan of these stabs. So I'm really, holy cow, we have a lot of stabilizers. So we're only using 4 stabs today. So let me pull out the wires we need, since it is a 65. So this will probably be the part of the build that takes the longest, to be completely honest, because soldering won't take that long. So that's going to be pretty good. So we just got to get our 4 wires, and then we'll get the rest of our assembly out of here, and we'll just start lubing these puppies up. So this is a really cool board. I really enjoy it. And again, Studio is one of those design studios I very much like. There's a reason I have multiples of their boards in my personal collection. Like, if I had to pick like my favorite design studios, it would probably be like Geon Works, Jackie Design, and Studio. Like, if you look at my Cherry MX collection, those 3 design studios make up a majority of my Cherry MX collection. So that's just something I just really enjoy. So like for me, I usually like to have like a good wide variety of boards in my collection. But if I really like a designer and I really like what they do, I'm gonna have multiples of their boards. Not of like the same board, but like different boards. Like my Geon boards, I have a bunch of different like Geon TKLs and whatnot, and a bunch of the Frog line. And same thing with Studio. I have their TKL, I have their AT board with a 0413. So bunch of really cool stuff. So yeah, I'll pull out the 0413. That one's really, really, really cool. So all right. So I mean, this is my 0413. We built this, I'd say, about a week and a half ago, right before Thanksgiving. This board is like 10 pounds of brass and aluminum. So this is my Pulp Fiction one, fully topere, which is really cool. So, and one thing that was cool about this project, I thought was just amazing, is every single one is numbered. This is a numbered project, which is really cool. So I have a low serial number, so I have number 33 in the actual production line of this board. So this was really cool. So really, really amazing board. And I got my Class 80. It's kind of buried in the display. I'll maybe pull it out later, but there we go, folks. We got our stabs. So let's get these puppies lubed up, and it's gonna be pretty good, folks. So yeah, we're just gonna get these lubed up. Again, those of you who came in from Alex, again, thank you so much. Again, it's always a fun time. So I always love it when people write in. But yeah, folks, it's just a fun time. So we're here just kind of talking about this board. Yeah, it's a really cool one. So like, I don't know, I kind of like that I got serial number 33. One thing about me, I'm a big Disney fan. I live in Los Angeles, so I have a Disney pass, and I go to Disney all the time. And one place in Disneyland I would love to go to, which I've never been, is Club 33. So I thought 33 was kind of a fun little reference to like Club 33, I think is pretty cool. The other number I would have loved would have been like 42, because Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the big nerd in me would have loved that. But really cool stuff. But yeah, we're going to do the secret tomorrow, which is going to be really cool. So I'm really happy for Keybay, that Keybay Tech sent that board out for us to take a look at. And again, just to kind of showcase, I know folks maybe come over from Alex. I know Alex took a look at the secret recently, and I think most from pretty much what I got from Alex, it's mostly positive stuff. And I think just Keybay Tech in general has doing some really good one. So I like using actually for my Cherry MX stabs, I'm kind of weird. I use Super Lube for my Cherry MX stabs. I don't know. That's just what I've used. Like most of my Cherry MX builds, I use super lube. It's basically dielectric grease. I just use thin coats of it on my stabilizers, and that has given me really good success. And again, it's non-conductive, so it doesn't hurt my boards. I do use 205G0, but I mainly use that for Alp stuff. So I mainly use 205G0 when I loop Alp stabilizers. So, but I prefer this dielectric grease when I'm doing my Cherry MX stabs. I don't know. I'm weird in like my preferences and what I like. But yeah, that's mainly just using this stuff. So, which is pretty cool. So, but it's a good time overall. This is a really good board, and I think MM Studio, like, definitely if you like vintage stuff, definitely check out MM Studio boards. I think they're really, really cool. And again, they have a really cool retro aesthetic. And they're not a lot of money. That's another thing, too, with MM Studio I really like is their price point is always amazing. They're always, like, sub $300 or $400. Like, the full size they're going to be doing. Okay, yeah, so Epic Woody, I would tell you, like, realistically, like, I'm a big believer that this hobby is for everyone. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you're like, I mainly deal in, like, boards that are, like, more on the high end, like $300, $400, $500 plus. But if you're a new person who's coming into the hobby, like, my number one recommendation for, like, a studio to just kind of learn about the hobby will be QWERTY keys. Look into QWERTY keys. Like, I just can't. I've done a lot of builds for, like, friends and family and people who I wouldn't call, like, keyboard enthusiasts, but they want, like, a mechanical keyboard. And, like, I really just recommend what QWERTY keys is doing. They have an amazing price point, and they give you a level of quality that historically has been reserved for, like, the super, super uber high-end custom stuff. So I really love, and I love what they're doing, and bringing a whole level of that, like, group buy custom quality to, like, a much wider audience, which I think is really cool. Oh, the Back and Echo is fun too. I've done some Back and Echo builds, and that's a really fun little board. So, and that's the thing too. I also just tell people too, like, have fun with the hobby. Like, whether you're someone who's spending, like, $500+ on a keyboard, or you're a person who's going you're more in a tight budget and you go something like a Keychron or something more entry level, just have fun with it. At the end of the day, it's your keyboard. You're going to be using it. It's going to be on your desk. Have fun with it. Learn, like, customize it to how you like it, and just have fun with it. And the one thing that's really cool, most people in this hobby are, like, really just amazing and willing to kind of show you the ropes. And there's a ton of great people online just making good keyboard content. People like Alex, people like Hippio, Teja, there's a bunch of other people who do some really, really cool stuff. So it's a really cool community. Oh yeah, dude, switches and keycaps are fine. But yeah, full custom, I just tell you, just take your time. And especially if there's, like, a YouTube video or, like, an instruction manual. The thing too with keyboards, most of them are pretty straightforward. Like, this board right here is a very straightforward build. Which is really nice. My also recommendation too, if you're a new person, definitely look for hot swap if you're going into more custom. Because if, like, for example, today we will be soldering switches in. Again, solder is more niche within the hobby. But I would definitely recommend doing hot swap because it's nice because you can figure out, like, what switches you like. If you like linear, tactile, clicky, you can really kind of dial in what feel you're looking for. So that's what I would recommend. Like, I'm a big, like, on Cherry stuff, I really prefer tactiles, which are really good. So I love, like, the tactile bump. A tactile I've been really loving are Gateron Type Rs. Those are really, really awesome switches. And they have a pretty good price point, which is really nice. Another switch maker I really like too is HMX. Oh, yeah, dude, tactiles are cool. And the thing that's cool too with this hobby in general is, like, everything's subjective. Like, I have a friend who prefers linears. They swear by them. But then also, like, for me, like, I do like linears, but, like, I don't know, I like that tactile feedback. Especially, I'm also really into vintage stuff like Alps. And Alps are just, I think, the bet, like, especially if you get into vintage stuff, most of it's going to be tactile. If you go into, like, old school, like, IBM Model M stuff, or just vintage IBM stuff, or, like, old Alp stuff, or Apple stuff, like, you're mostly going to be dealing with switches that are mostly tactile. So, I guess that's just me liking vintage stuff, where tactiles really appeal to me, which is really cool. And that's another thing, too, I also tell people, too, is, like, another side of the keyboard hobby that is a lot of fun is dealing with vintage boards. like whether you're using like old vintage Apple stuff or like Cherry stuff or IBM stuff, like it's really cool, and it's not a lot of money to get into it, which is really fun. Like you can get like an old IBM Model M for like less than $100, and you can like clean those things up and mod them, and they're like fantastic. Like I'll show you a really cool vintage board I got my hands on recently for like $40. I got this bad boy on. I got an IBM Battleship for I got the IBM. I got this thing for $40. I bolt modded this thing, and it's amazing. So like again, like vintage stuff is cool. Like you definitely check out vintage stuff. Like there's a gold mine of stuff online that you can get, which is always fun. But I saw someone mention like the Rainy 75, which is really cool. That's a really cool board. I built that I built a Rainy 75 for a friend, so really, really good. Oh, I got it for $40, dude. And then the seller like regretted it immediately. But I'm like, hey, dude, you sold it to me. So it's fun. So like I definitely love old school like vintage stuff. So yeah, getting a Battleship for like $40 was like amazing. Which is super sick. Yeah, old IBM stuff is cool. Like the old buckling spring, like Model M stuff is just awesome. Like, and they're really easy to work on. Like, just be patient and take your time. And like getting into the vintage stuff is cool because it's not a lot of money. Like, you can get some really cool vintage boards for like sometimes free or like less than like $50. So that's the cool thing with vintage stuff. You can have a lot of fun and learn about old tech in a really cool way. Like, I'm also a big vintage Apple fan. So like I have a bunch of these old Apple keyboards which are made with Alp switches, and they're awesome. Oh yeah, it's such a weird one. This one's really weird too, with like my medium mass enter. So I love old Apple stuff. Like that's an Apple one. I got this Apple board right here, which is super sick. So I got a bunch of cool Apple boards. So I have almost a complete Apple Alps collection. So, I mean, but I think that one that takes the cake is the AEK. Like, the AEK is just super, super sick. So, love this one. This one has Salmon Alps. I also have the Orange Alps AEK. So, yeah, vintage Apple stuff, really, really cool. Again, you can get this for, like, $40-$50 online. So, really, really cool boards, and they're a lot of fun to mess around with. So, yeah, so I always tell people, yeah, don't sleep on vintage stuff. Like, it's really cool. And also, like, some of the old Cherry stuff is, like, really, really awesome. So, and it's really cool playing around with those boards. Like, I've gone to meets and, like, seeing people bring, like, old school, like, terminal keyboards. That, like, I went to Key Life back in September, and there was this old, like, Reuters terminal board that had probably, like, I don't know, like, 150 keys on it. And it just looks so friggin' cool. And it had 9009 on it. Like, original 9009 from back in the day. And it was just amazing. And I asked the person, like, how much is it? And they told me the price. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a little too rich for my blood. So there's definitely, like, some more iconic boards that are, like, a lot of money. Like, certain boards definitely fetch, like, a pretty premium. Like, an IBM Unsaver or, like, I know Cherry G80s are, like, ridiculously sought after. But there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can get in on for, like, not a lot of money. So that's why I tell people, too, like, there are ways to have a lot of fun in this hobby and learn a lot without spending a lot of money. Now, on the vintage side, you can definitely go very, very deep financially and go after some super uber rare expensive stuff, which is cool. But like most of the vintage stuff I have, I get for pretty reasonable prices online, and then I just fully restore them. So that's just really cool. So it's a lot of fun. And again, it's just there's so many ways to have fun in this hobby, and that's why I just tell people, especially if you're the newer people, like there's just a lot. There's such a huge and deep rabbit hole with this particular hobby. So I really enjoy it when people can kind of learn other sides, and I love going to meets. And I did a mini meet, I say like 2 weeks ago, and I only took vintage boards, and it was really cool seeing people's responses and kind of people reacting positively to the boards. So I had some Northgate Omni-Keys with Alps, and those are some really, really sick vintage boards. So yeah, if you go to Key Life in Los Angeles next year, you're definitely going to see some really cool stuff. Like, yeah, absolutely. Again, this is a really fun hobby, and I just tell people, like, keyboards are like adult Legos. That's really what it is. If you built like a PC, or you like tinkering with tech, or you played with Legos, you could probably build a keyboard. It's a very simple thing. It's a very easy thing to do. And the thing that's really fun too, that you can learn a lot, is like modding the keyboards, like doing things like the tape mod, like adding foam to keyboards, like figuring out what switches you like, which is really cool. I saw earlier in the chat someone mentioned building a board with ACO switches. ACO switches are fantastic. Like, I have a couple boards built with ACO switches in my personal collection, and they're amazing for the price point. So there's literally something for everyone. That's the thing with switches too. Like switches can be really, really affordable, but they can also get like ridiculously expensive. Like, especially if you're going after like vintage Cherry MX Blacks or something like that, they get like, or like Alps. Alps are, don't get me started on how expensive Alps are. So it's a really cool thing. So I think that's a really cool thing. You can really kind of play around and have fun with it and like tune it to what you like. So, because I have another friend who is into keyboards, but like our tastes are very different. Like, I have some keyboard builds like my buddy absolutely hates, and I'm like, I love this. This is so cool. So that's the cool thing about this. Like, what feels, sounds good, and like looks good, it could be different from every single person, and that's the cool thing about this hobby. And I love seeing when people in like Discord or Reddit post their builds and just seeing the cool things people are doing. Whether it's a board that someone got at an insanely budget price, or someone has like a one-of-one super, super high-end custom board. I really just love seeing what people do in this hobby and just seeing how they express themselves. Again, ultimately these keyboards are going to be a tool we use on our desk, and it's cool to kind of see how people express themselves through these again, pieces of machinery and these tools we use on our desks. So it's been pretty cool. So I definitely enjoy just kind of showing people like what is a different side of the hobby, which I think is just really cool. So it's a good time, and we definitely just have fun with it. And that's what I always just encourage. And it's also a great opportunity to like check out boards too. Like, again, I'm really excited to check out the Secret. I've also checked out other boards that have been in group buy recently, like the ETAR 87. I got to build the ETAR 87 both in Cherry MX and in Alps. I also got to check out a board that's in interest check right now and also the prototyping phase. That'll probably be going to group buy next year. I'll show off this one. I have it on my desk right here, which is the Baron Boards BP1. This is a McLaren P1 themed keyboard, which is really cool. So this board supports both Cherry MX and Alps, which is really cool. So I have two prototypes here. So this one's built with Orange Alps, which is really cool. And then we have the other prototype built with, Cherry MX switches, which is really cool. So be on the lookout, folks. If you want a board, if you're a McLaren fan or like a Formula One fan, or you just like supercars, definitely check out that board. It'll be hopefully be going on group buy sometime in 2026, which would be really, really cool. So again, it's just been really cool to kind of check out different types of boards and what's available in the hobby. So we're almost done with our stabs, and we'll start screwing these in. So I'm just getting these all kind of hooked up and configured. But yeah, it's also for our newbies too, our folks who are getting into this. Definitely lube your stabilizers. That's a must, because rattly stabilizers sound like garbage. So that is just a little thing too. Lubing stabilizers is pretty simple. There's a lot of great videos out there on how to lube stabs. So definitely if you're someone who's more novice, make sure to pick up a little bit of like 2FIG0 or dielectric grease and lube your stabilizers, because yeah, you don't want to, that's a step you don't want to skip. So all right, and we got those. So we got our 4 stabs lubed up, and we should be good to go. So let's get these puppies screwed in, and we'll kind of go from there. So let's get our PCB out. So coming back to our PCB, it is a yellow PCB, which is really cool. So really love this PCB, which I think is really cool. So there's a really good time. So we're going to get our screws out, and we'll get this one going. So this is a really, really cool board. We're going to get going. So let me get my screwdriver bit. Let's get our Phillips on here, and then we'll get these ones going. So we have our stabs. So let's put our stabilizers on here. So we're not doing any type of like split backspace or anything like that. We're going pretty standard with our layout today. The only layout selections we did do, I opted for a 7U spacebar, and then we're going ANSI enter, and then we're going to do step caps lock. So pretty normal and kind of standard fare here. One thing with me, with my builds, I definitely prefer 7U spacebars over a 6.25U spacebars, so that's what we're going to do. So we got those in, so those are stabs, which are going to be pretty cool. Yeah, Teja and Alex, I think, are two really good creators. I think they're, and the thing that's interesting too, there's a big spectrum of creators out there, which I think are really good. I think like people like Alex or like Captain Sterling, Teja, of course, is like one of those OGs. There's people like Andy Wynn. There's a lot of really great creators who have been doing some really good stuff for much longer than I have. I've only been in this hobby for a couple of years. I got in late 2023. So again, there are people who are way more OG than me. But like I said, my biggest thing I always tell people is I just want this hobby to be accessible and open to everyone. I think the more people having fun in this hobby, I think the better. So that's a really good thing. So that's something I'm never going to be a gatekeeper or thing like that. I always just want to encourage people, just buy a keyboard and have fun with it. And it may turn into a gateway drug where then you turn into a crazy person like me and you have like keyboards all over your on your walls and your bookcases, and they multiply like rabbits. So just be kind of careful too. Like again, some people, like the thing with keyboards too that can be dangerous, they do have a tendency to multiply, and depending on you, they may multiply at a greater rate than other people. So that's just a kind of interesting. I mean, if you look at my walls behind me, I literally have keyboards hanging off my walls. It's just, yeah, I don't even want to think. It'd probably take me a few minutes to count all of them, to be completely honest, in my collection. I can't tell you off the top of my head how many I have. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So it's I went to a keyboard meetup at UC Irvine here in Southern California back in October. And we took out, I think at the time, my entire collection. We've gotten more boards since then. And we took out about 50 keyboards, which was just kind of insane. So, yeah, it just kind of gives you an idea of how many I have. It's just kind of crazy. So, yeah, they're definitely fun. And I definitely rotate through a lot of them on a daily basis. So, and that's and again, I have everything from like Cherry MX stuff to Alps, modern Alps, Topre. We have buckling spring with the IBM Battleship. We have Hall effect. So I have a nice variety of different switch types, which is really, really cool. So almost there. I think I need 2, 4, 6, one more washer, and I think we'll be good to get this one going. So yeah, it's definitely a good time with all these one. Oh yeah, you already have 4A. See, look, again, and here's the funny thing about this hobby. Like, most people think like, hey, having more than one keyboard to the average person outside of this hobby people think is insanity. If you have 2 keyboards, most people are going to think you're crazy. So the fact that you have 4, you are above average in terms of the average amount of keyboards the average person has. So yeah, welcome to the hobby. It's definitely a fun time, and it's definitely fun just kind of seeing, again, people definitely explore it and getting into it. So definitely a fun time. And again, trust me, you'll definitely discover some designers and things like that. There's a lot of good ways to have fun in this hobby. So, but yeah, so let's get this going. So we got our screws ready and our washers. So we're going to get these stabilizers screwed in. And then we're going to do a little bit of tuning really quick. And then I think we'll be ready to start inserting our switches. And then we'll get these puppies soldered in. So if you look at the back of my PCB, there are no hot swap sockets. So we are going solder. So I have a soldering iron, and we'll use solder to we will be melting solder to to connect the pins to the PCB. So one thing about the hobby, soldering isn't as, I say, common as it used to be back in the day. Yeah, my answer to most people when they say how many keyboards do I have, I just say one less than I need. But yeah, soldering is definitely more niche now. Like, if you're like an OG back in the day, like, soldering was the only way to go. Hot swap is relatively recent within the hobby, but I think having hot swap be widely available is for the better of the hobby. Now, the one thing with hot swap, unfortunately, you usually don't have as much layout compatibility, especially if like you're a person who likes ISO and things like that. Hot swap, there are limitations in terms of how much universal layout support you can get, versus solder, you can pretty much support every layout imaginable a person could want. So, but yeah, hot swap is really good, and again, I think it's definitely made the hobby more accessible, because some people either are in a situation where they can't solder because they maybe live in an apartment or something like that, or don't have the proper ventilation, or for health reasons. Again, solder fumes, you don't want to be breathing that crap in. So, which is pretty interesting. So, but another thing too, if you get into the more enthusiast side of the hobby, like especially boards that are like north of like $400, $500, $600, usually they're going to be solder only. So so like solder is pretty much more of kind of like an enthusiast really kind of niche thing, which is kind of interesting. So we got our stabs here. I just want to put in a little bit of lube into our stabs just to kind of smoothen up everything, and then we'll be pretty good. Cool. So yeah, so that's pretty good. We'll just get a little bit in there. It's just me topping. Cool. Awesome. So that's pretty good. So yeah, we're just gonna, this is kind of my methodology, my method to my madness. Doing stabilizers and doing stabs. So cool. Cool. Almost there. So once we get these ones in and properly lubed up, I think we'll be good. Cool. Almost there. This is just, again, me just adding a little bit more lubricant and making sure everything is going good. And you don't want rattly stabilizer. That's just a big no-no. And again, trust me, if you have rattly stabilizers, you think, oh, as a new person, oh, I won't notice it. Trust me. If you do not lube your stabs, you're definitely going to notice it. And it's going to be annoying, and you're not going to like it. So that's just my rule of thumb. Especially as a new person, definitely lube your stabs, people. Just makes life a little bit easier. Oh, dude, you definitely need more. And I think also, too, like a good way to kind of start, if you're okay with having multiple boards, like some people who get a mechanical keyboard are like, oh, I just need one. I'm like, cool. If you definitely are interested in like collecting and like getting into it, I honestly think a good target is like have like either find a layout you really like and have like a bunch of different boards in that layout, or have one of each layout. Like try and get a full size, get a TKL, get a 75, get a 65, get a 60. Hey, if you're if you're feeling really crazy and dangerous, get a 40%. 40% are another kind of weird niche within the hobby. If you really want to be insane in this hobby, get into 40%. So those things are wild. So, all right, folks, here we go. So, which is always really nice. So we got our plate on here, and nice about this plate too, this supports a ton of different layouts. So again, it supports 7U bottom row or 6.25U bottom row, ISO, ANSI, enter. You can either do 2U backspace, split backspace. You can do normal caps lock, step caps lock, and you can also do a split left shift, which is really cool. So a ton of layout support, which is really nice. So we're gonna get our Gateron Quinns out, and we're gonna start putting these switches in. So Gateron Quinns are really nice. They're a little more expensive. Just the thing about Gateron switches, I really like Gateron switches. Dude, the Neo 60 is a really cool board. I built a Neo 65 for one of my relatives for their home office setup, and they love it. So, like, I love the Neo lineup and just QWERTY key stuff in general. They're awesome. So, like, don't sleep on QWERTY keys. Like, they're killing it lately, and they're doing really good work in the hobby. So, like, the utmost love and respect to QWERTY keys. Like, what they have done for the hobby is for the better, in my personal opinion. So I love the people over there. They're doing some awesome stuff. So what I like to do with these boards is I like to get the corners in, and that just kind of holds everything in. These are really tight solder sockets, so this will probably never get taken apart again. That's another thing too with solder. I also recommend as a new person, don't like if you get soldered, like really know what you like. Because once solder, you can desolder boards, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's not, it does not have the convenience of hot swap. So like once you kind of have been in the hobby enough and you know what you're doing, I definitely recommend trying out a solder board. Like if you know what type of switches you like, what sound profile, what plates you like, solder, or you have an idea of just what sounds good to you, then you can. I would recommend getting into solder. But especially as a new person who's trying stuff out, I really wouldn't recommend it, because again, the worst thing is you put a solder board together and you realize you absolutely hate it, and you realize, oh crap, now I have to desolder all this stuff. Yeah. Absolutely. So I tried these Gateron Quinns and other boards, and I knew they would sound nice. And again, they have a sound profile I like. So like another thing with keyboards is figuring out what sound profile you like. I like an old school clacky sound profile. That's what I like. So again, not having any foam, usually top mounting and with a metal plate, gives me the sound profile that I'm a big fan of. So here we go. Awesome, awesome. We got our four corners in, kind of holding everything in. So let's figure out if we're doing our 7U space bar. Yeah, it's our middle one. So I'm just figuring out how we're doing this. But yeah, I am not desoldering this board ever because I've desoldered an MM Studio board before and it sucks. Like these PCB, one thing about their PCBs, like they're awesome, but the solder sockets are really tight on the pins. So like desoldering these boards absolutely sucks. So yeah, I'm never taking this board. I will never desolder this board as long as it lives. Because yeah, it is a nightmare desoldering these boards. Like they're ridiculous. This is a very, very tight fit. Yeah. And again, I think that's also good too. Like I like that you say a muted sound. That's where like adding foam to keyboards and also looking into like silent switches is really good. One thing that's been really cool over the past year, some people will say like, oh, I don't want a mechanical keyboard because it's too loud. And that's why I tell people, you can make a mechanical keyboard silent or a lot quieter. So like I have my TGR 910 I have is a silent build. So let me grab this one. So this is a 1-of-1 unique board. So this is a TGR 910 ME, which you can get this board. This isn't a hard board to get, but mine is unique. So this is my TGR 910 that the original owner custom Cerakoted to match GMK Purplish. So, and I also got this really cool PVD backweight on it, which just looks amazing. So, but yeah, it's also really cool because this board is like really, really quiet. Like this is how loud this board is. So this board is ridiculously quiet and it's awesome. And this is also a super expensive keyboard. But funny thing, this keyboard has ACO switches in it. So it has the ACO Fairy silent linear switch. So if you're looking into silent switches, you want something affordable, like definitely look into ACO Fairy silent linears. Like probably one of my favorite silent switches. It's dead quiet. I've put this in a few builds. Like I have a couple keyboards that I've done for family members, and I put these switches in, and they love them. So really, really awesome keyboard with some awesome switches. This board is going to be loud as hell, so I cannot wait to see how loud this thing is because it's going to be just amazing. So this board is going to be so obnoxiously loud. I cannot wait. And I'm definitely taking this thing to work tomorrow because yeah, I want to annoy all the people I work with. So yeah, there we go. Getting all these ones in. But yeah, this is going to be a really, really awesome board. So just getting all these in and also make sure I don't bend any pins. Yeah, Keychron too. I do not have hate for Keychron. They don't deserve the hate they get. They also have done some cool stuff. The keyboard I actually built for my mother's home office setup. I built my mother a custom key. I built my mother a keyboard, and it's a Keychron Q6, and she freaking loves it. So really awesome. So yeah, Keychron stuff is really cool too. So we're just making sure all these switches are just kind of pushed in. These are really, really tight. So, but yeah, this is going to be ridiculously heavy once it's done. So that's really good. So just getting all these ones in. Also making sure we don't bend any pins because I've bent pins before on boards and that's not fun. Never fun when you bend pins. So, but yeah, this board is definitely not getting disassembled. So, because yeah, that's, oh my god, yeah, these are ridiculously tight. So, yeah, this board would be I know this board is, if I ever have to desolder this board, it'll be an absolute nightmare. But yeah, I don't ever plan to desolder this board. So, yeah, that's pretty good. All right, let's make sure those are all seated in there firmly. Cool. It's coming along. So now we just want to get into our 7U. So we go in the closest, the inner one. Let's make sure those pins went in. Perfect. So we want the inner switch in here. Perfect. Yeah, this is really good. Holy cow. So that is awesome. So we're looking good so far. So this is a really cool board. So now we'll do kind of our cluster up here. So we'll do our number row. Let's get that in there. There we go. Cool. Yeah, this is going to be a super sick board. I am really jazzed for this board. So cool. Nice. And we're just getting some other distribution of this one, and we'll get it going. Holy cow, that is awesome. So, oh man, ow. There we go. Got it. Hello. So, I think, I didn't bend the pins on that one. Sweet. Cool. Almost there with our number row, and then we just got to get our alphas in there, and then we'll get it going. But yeah, these are ridiculously tight, but that also means this will be a good, nice, firm fit. So, yeah. Got that. Cool. Almost there. That one's a little bit bent. We don't want to bend our pins. But yeah, this is overall a really cool board, and we got some cool stuff. So, oh god, so plateless, really what I recommend for doing plateless, the only plateless build I've done is my GeonWorks W1AT, but I had an alignment plate. My only advice for plateless is what I've done in the past is you insert all the switches, and then you put all the keycaps on, and then you solder in the switches. And then once everything is soldered in, you kind of have to flip it over and eyeball. And if you see stuff that's misaligned, you'll then kind of flip the PCB over, and then whatever switch is loose, you'll heat those solder pins up, and you'll just kind of twist it around. I'll be completely honest, it's kind of a pain in the ass. I don't really do plateless for that very reason. Plateless sounds amazing depending on the board. It's just a freaking nightmare to do it. And also with plateless, you want to make sure your switches have 5 pins. If you have 3-pin Cherry MX switches, good luck. Those are even more of a nightmare. So you want to make sure that you have a PCB that supports the 5 pins. And you also have a Cherry MX switches that have 5 pins. Because again, it's just going to be like if you have 3-pin Cherry MX switches, like Cherry MX blacks or what have you, like it's just gonna suck. So like I really don't do plateless just for that reason. It's just a massive pain in the ass. But the boards I've tried and like my W1AT sound amazing plateless. Like let me grab my W1AT. Like that thing is awesome. All right. So like one of the really kind of more well-known boards that's plateless is the GeonWorks W1AT. Really cool board, and it sounds amazing plateless because this board was built to be plateless. So really cool board. I love it. But yeah, that board was a massive pain in the ass to build. So that's part of why I've only really done one plateless build, and I don't plan on doing any more. So especially with like Cherry MX stuff and especially Alps, like I just want a plate. And like my preferred plate material is going to be either aluminum or brass. Like I'm a big fan of metal plates because I do top mount, and that's just my personal preference. I don't like plastic plates. I don't like carbon fiber plates. That's just my personal preference. So if I can get a board with an aluminum or like a brass plate, I'm always going to do that. But I know some people prefer the softer type because for me, like I like top mount because like my typing experience, I want a very stiff and a very firm typing experience. So what is that? I'm not sure. I'll be completely honest. I'm not entirely familiar, so maybe enlighten me. But I think overall, it's just it's just an interesting experience with plateless. Like, and again, these MM Studio boards support plateless. You can't top mount them because top mounts through the plate. but you can gasket mount the PCBs. You could definitely build these plate lists. It's just, and I know people who've done MM Studio boards plate lists. It's just a pain in the butt, and I don't recommend. I mean, if you're a glutton for punishment and you're patient, you can do it, but I just don't do it. Oh, PEI. I personally haven't tried it. But like I said, I guess I'm just old-fashioned because, again, also because I'm really into vintage boards. Like, a lot of the vintage boards I really enjoy came with, like, steel plates. So, like, those are, like, super, super stiff, and most of those are either bottom-mounted or top-mounted. So, that's just what I really like. I like that very firm, old-school type, just kind of stiff feel. So, like, for me, like, I want just metal plates. Again, like most of my vintage Alps boards, like my Apple board, like my Battleship, those have steel plates, and those things are really, really stiff. There's little to no flex in any, like I'll pull off this one. Like this Apple board here, there's like no flex in this. Considering it's a polymer case, but with that steel plate, there is absolutely no flex in this board. So this is a very stiff and very firm typing experience. So, which is pretty interesting. So, like, yeah, definitely a fan of that just kind of old school feel. So, but again, that's the thing about this hobby. Everything is subjective. What feels good and sounds good to one person may not sound or feel good to another person. So that's the interesting thing about it. So, but yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, overall, but yeah, these switches, it's taken a lot longer than I thought to insert these switches. But these MM Studio PCBs are no joke, especially the solder ones. So, one thing about MM Studio, they don't, even with their kind of more affordable price point, relatively speaking, these things are definitely quality. So, but yeah, these Quinns are going to look freaking fantastic, and they're going to sound awesome. I've been dying to use these switches in this build. So, I've tested these switches out, and they give me the exact clacky sound profile that I am looking for. So, this is going to be fantastic. So, almost there. That one, and then that one, perfect. And then we got one more row in our alphas, and then we'll pretty much be ready to start soldering these puppies in. So this should be a really good time. I'm really excited to see how this one shapes up, which is going to be really cool. There we almost there. Let's just make sure those are all in. Cool. And did I get it in? I did. Yeah, it's crazy how this is such a thick PCB. This is a very thick boy PCB. So just trying to press that in. Cool. Yeah, this is legitimately insane. So almost there. Yeah, this is definitely going to have some weight for a 65%. This will probably be my heaviest 65%, to be completely honest, once we're done with it. So, and we'll definitely get it and compare it to like the Class 80 and the 0413 once we're done. Oh my god, that is a tank. Holy cow. All right, let's put the rest of these Quinns in here because we're pretty much done with the Quinns. There we go. Just dump all those in there. Add those to the switch library for client builds and whatnot. So there we go, folks. So there is our assembly, which is looking really good. So that is a chunk. Like, especially with that brass plate, that assembly has a really, really nice weight to it. So, and this is literally just the plate and PCB assembly. So look, I'm just checking all of my pins really quick. I want to make sure I didn't bend anything, because bent pins suck. And if there's a bent pin, we got to pull that switch out. And I think we're good. So we're gonna fire up everything. I'm gonna get my I'm gonna use gloves for soldering, because I'll kind of explain why I'm starting to do that now. Give me a second. Let's get my soldering temperature dialed in. So I'm gonna be rocking gloves for soldering going forward, just because I've gotten some good burns on my. I got some burns on my hands a couple of weeks ago from the soldering iron, actually desoldering stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want that. So I'm gonna start doing soldering with gloves, just to make so I don't again destroy my hands with like nicks and whatnot. So yeah, definitely gonna glove up for this, just to make my life a little bit easier. So that's just gonna be good. So yeah, so Yeah, soldering, definitely be careful. Also get one of these little vents if you're going to solder, or be in a place that has a lot of ventilation, or just do this outside. You don't want to be breathing these fumes in because, yeah, that's not nice and cancer sucks. So, yeah, so there we go, everybody. Let's get these going. Awesome. Let's get our solder wick going, and then we'll kind of go from there. So, cool. Let's get this going. Oop. There we go. Let's get our solder wick out of here, and then we'll get it going. Cool. Got a nice line of solder wick going. All right. There we go. Get this one going, everybody. So, get our vent on. So if you hear any humming, that's this little solder vent. That's going to be doing. I'm going to flip this upside down, and we're going to get this going. So, awesome. Got our soldering iron. We got our solder line. We're going to start soldering these switches in, and we're going to kind of go from there. So, and again, those of you who are curious about soldering, it's not that difficult. When you get it, it's really easy to do. You just want to make sure you just kind of get into a rhythm and a groove, and it just kind of goes really quick. So I usually start off in doing solder in 4 corners, and then I just kind of work my way around the board. I do the 4 corners to hold everything in. And yeah, that looks pretty good. You should have nice little solder domes. You literally hold it there for like a second or two, and that usually is enough to do it. But yeah, soldering, really not as difficult as you may think. It's a really simple thing to do. And once you get the hang of it, it's a pretty simple thing to do. So, nice. Looking pretty good. We'll get this corner right here. Looking good. And then with this corner in, pretty much, I don't have to worry about the assembly coming undone because it is going to pretty much be held in place now by those 4 corners. So that's really nice. So I'm going to start off with my macro column right here and do that, and then we'll just kind of get it going. So we're just going to kind of really work our way around. So we have that one going. Yeah, soldering, you just kind of get into a nice little rhythm, and it just goes really quick. I can solder a board together pretty quickly. So, yeah, if you're intimidated by soldering, don't be. It's a pretty simple thing to do. And there's a lot of really great tutorials on YouTube on how to do it. I learned this from a friend who's a little more experienced in soldering, and I picked it up pretty quickly. Now, I will say this, though. I am not the most advanced solderer. Like, if I was doing something like service mount, trying to solder in like a service mount component like that would be a pain in the butt. I'm not skilled enough to do that, but like, heck, soldering in switches for keyboard stuff, soldering pins for keyboard switches, I can do that all day. So, that's a pretty simple thing to do. So, awesome. We're going to do our space bar row now. Let's make sure our space bar is fully seated in there, and we'll get that one going, so. And then we'll do our bottom row. Now, I usually start off with the perimeter of the board, and then I kind of work my way in. Cool. That looks good. Let's go over here to our arrows, and we're going to get that one going. Looking good. Alright, that one's looking good. Let's go over here to our other cluster. Push those in, and we'll get it going. Looking good so far. Oop. Cool. Looking good there. Let's do them over here. Looking good. Nice. Just making sure we're almost there. Nice. 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 All right, bottom row is done. Let's do our little navigation cluster right here. And we're kind of making our way through. So that's looking pretty good as we kind of get those kind of soldered together. We're going to do our modifiers now. And then we're making some good progress. Just a little bit more on that one. Nice. Looking good, folks. Looking good. Awesome. Almost there. Looking good. This one's at a little bit of an angle, so I gotta do this one kind of differently. Cool. That one's good. Just kind of bring that around, and we're gonna come over here now. Do our modifiers over here. So we're also making really good time on this one too. So nice. Looking really good right there. So that's great. Nice. And then we'll do this one. Perfect. All right, now we're going to do our number row, and then we'll do our alphas, and then we'll be pretty much done with this particular board. And then we'll start going back to the case and getting everything ready for that. So this one's coming along really nice. So really happy with how this is coming out. Looking good. Some of that one didn't get enough solder as I would like. Alright. Looking good, so just gotta be careful around this pogo pin connector. Yeah, we're good there. Nice. Good times, everybody. almost done with our number row, and then we'll be kind of on the home stretch of soldering, which is pretty good. So making some good progress on this. So just clean off that solder tip. And we're almost there, folks. So looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. So just going to kind of go up here and just kind of work our way through. Give me a second. All right. All right. I know, it's a good time. I mean, yeah, we had Alex Odos did a raid with us. What's up, Welvin? Yeah, Alex Odos did a raid. We had like almost 200 people here a little while ago. It was awesome. So, again, much love to Alex Odos' peeps. Yeah, we're building the Class 65 today. So, we're doing something not Alps today, which is pretty cool. So, we're doing something a little bit different. So, pretty cool. So, it's a good time. So, all right. Yeah, almost there with this one, folks. We'll have 2 more rows. And then we'll be ready to start getting this board ready for the case. So, really, really cool one. Yeah, dude, it was cool. Like, again, I've been rated by Alex a couple of times at this point. So, just a big love and thank you to Alex Odos and his community. And just the people in this community in general. So, I love this hobby. I love messing with tech. I love learning about tech. I love, if I can help inspire people and teach people a little bit, that makes it even more worthwhile. So, it's definitely a good time. So, I'm a big believer that this hobby's for everyone. And we can all have fun here. So, whether you're someone who's like buying a super high-end keyboard that's like $500+ or you're someone who spent $30 on a Keychron, like, we're all here for the love of the hobby and learning about tech and having fun with technology. So, it is a good time. Alright. So it's a good day. Yeah, it's good times. So we are almost done soldering, folks. So, and you can see, again, this is a little more of an involved process than hot swap, but it's totally worth it. So we are almost there. Yeah, we'll be doing the Keybay Tech Secret group buy stream tomorrow, and that's all hot swap. So that'll be a little bit of a quicker build, and we can do more mixing and matching of parts and components on that board. So, I think that looks good. We got 1 more row, folks. Yeah, I cannot wait. The Secret's going to be a fun build. And we also have the Diversity TKL coming in, I'd say probably by the end of the month. So that'll be another kind of sick build, too, that we're going to do. Doing the Diversity. So we got a lot of really fun boards and projects coming in. And we also got a ton of vintage restoration stuff. So if you're into vintage, want to learn about vintage keyboard stuff, we have a ton more. We have a ton of vintage stuff we're going to be doing too. So there's always, my project backlog of stuff is eternal. So there's a ton of stuff that's going to be coming up. We'll be streaming and just kind of showcasing to people. So I mean, when we're done with this stream, I have to desolder the ETAR 87, so that's going to be freaking delightful. So, because I got to return those brown Alps to Careless. So, alright, almost there. Coming along. Got a few more switches. We're almost here. Rock on. Right. Almost there. Awesome. All right, we are done soldering. So that's nice. All right. Let's turn that off. Let's turn this off. Cool. We are done with that. Let me take my gloves off. I kind of don't need my gloves anymore, so that's always a fun time. So there we go. All right, cool. Let's take a look at this assembly. Let's roll up my solder spool. Kind of go from there. Cool. And there we go. It's still nice and warm, but yeah, there we go, folks. We got our assembly in. So we have a solder. So I solder at 350 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm an American, but when I'm doing soldering, I work in Celsius. So I say between 350, 400 degrees Celsius is perfectly safe. You're not going to do any damage to the PCB. One thing about these PCBs, they're surprisingly robust. Like even with like my vintage boards, I have boards that are 40 plus years old, and I desolder those boards and they still work. So like PCBs are surprisingly robust and durable, and it's pretty hard to kill them. You have to be pretty, like, unless you're like stabbing it with like, unless you're stabbing the soldering iron into like the PCB, you're pretty much just, if you're just reasonably soldering in switches, like you're not going to have any issues. So, but yeah, we opted for a solder PCB. We went with 7U spacebar, full left shift, ANSI enter, and again 2U backspace, also steps caps lock. This board supports ISO 6.25, split left shift, standard caps lock. Like it supports everything, split backspace. So it's pretty good. So I'm really happy. And also I opted for a brass plate. So like this assembly has some pretty good weight to it. So I want to do a test. Coming from the vintage side, I've just learned just for my OCD, I do want to test stuff. So let's stick our PCB in here and let's just kind of stick it in here and let's just kind of test it really quick, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I want to go over, and these are usually vial boards in terms of their compatibility. Oh, I just heard the solenoid. Oh, I can't wait. This is going to be sick. All right. I heard that beautiful solenoid. So let's see. I just want to do a test of the matrix. So we're going to get vial opened up, and we'll get this puppy tested. So there we go. Everything is popping up, which is awesome. Let's see. Actually, let's get this solenoid on here. All right. All right, you want to hear the most annoying keyboard in the world? Here you go. Oh, it has both of them on. Oh my God, look how annoying that is. Isn't that hideous? I love it. All right, how do we turn on the beeper off? Okay, cool. Got him. Cool. All right. All right, give me a second. Oh, I didn't have this set up right. Give me a second. I need to go to 7U spacebar. 7U. There we go. Let's see this work better. Okay, give me a second. I got to set up my layers really quick. So MO1. Let's set this puppy out. All right. All right, here we go. Now I can... Here we go. So here is your solenoid. Let's turn the solenoid off. And let's turn the beeper on. There is your beeper, everybody. That is the most annoying thing. And if you want to get more annoying, get fired at work, everybody, you turn them both on. So that is fantastic. So it's good that our kind of two trademark kind of things. And this is just what, we don't have keycaps on that fully built yet and mounted, but I just want to test my switches really quick. I just come from Alps. Oh yeah, dude, go loud or go home on this board for sure. So I'm just testing my switches. I just always do that before we fully mount everything. You never know. Something may have got bent or whatever, but I think we're pretty good. This is just coming from the vintage side when you deal with dead switches, which is not fun. And we are good, folks. All right. So we're going to unplug the keyboard for right now. And let's get the rest of this thing built. But yeah, that is obnoxious, and I love it, and it's so stupid. And it's amazing. So, all right, let's also get our top case in here and kind of figure out how we're going to do this. We are going to be top mounting this board today. So let me get the top mount parts and find where the heck is everything else. There we go. Let's get those. All right, let's figure out how we're doing this. So we're not gasket mounting. We are top mounting. So there we go. Let's get top mount and let's get this thing ready to go. See, I think we're going to be, yeah, we're doing, so let's put the main case away. And let's get this puppy, let's get everything ready for top mount. So we are going to be top mounting this board. So this will support either top mount or gasket mount, which is really nice. So it kind of gives you the option of how you want to build the board out, which I think is really nice. So I like giving people options on how they want to build their boards out, which I think is really cool. So we have these little plastic spacers that are made of like a frosted acrylic, and that's going to be our spacer. So we're going to put that. We're going to put these little spacers in here. I think is really nice. This is a much nicer change over the top mount for the Class 80. The Class 80 had these adhesive rubber things you put in between for the top mount, and I hate those things so much. So I like that they're going with this like frosted acrylic that isn't adhesive. It's really nice. Nice quality of life improvement. So big props there at MM Studio. This is this top mount solution is an improvement over the Class 80 R2. So that is really nice. So get these screws out of here, and then we'll get let's figure out my orientation of this board. Let's put her in. And it's making sure we're all lined up. There we go. So let's make sure I have the right bit for these. These are, looks like a larger bit we're going with. I think it's that one. Yeah. So let's get this top mount in here. There we go. Awesome. Let's get these other ones in here. So, yes, I do plan to buy the Seal 80, but not for Cherry MX and actually not for Alps. I'm going to buy that for Space Invader switches. So Space Invaders are a more obscure vintage switch that I've really been wanting to try out. So I will be doing a Seal 80, but for Space Invaders. So definitely going to be looking into that project. Sensi's also doing an Alps yeah. Oh yeah, it's going to be sick. We're going to do Space Invaders in a modern TKL. It's going to be amazing. Sensi is going to support Alps, Cherry MX, Topere, Space Invaders, and I think like 2 other vintage switch types. So that board is the Sensi 80 is going to be absolutely insane because the Seal, I have the Seal. I'm waiting on my plate to be designed and made because I have a specific keycap set I want to use on my Seal full size, and that's going to be a sick board once I get that one built. So, yeah, we're just getting this top mount in here. So yeah, it's a really cool, I think it's a really cool design. Oh yeah, Angry Bearface switches, if you're over in East Asia, us here in the United States call them Space Invaders in like Europe. But I know if you're over in like China, Korea, Japan, they call them Angry Bear switches. So depending on where you are in the world, Space Invaders have a different name. So it's just, yeah, I think that is pretty cool. So almost there. One more screw for our top mount, and then I think we'll be pretty good. I think we'll be good to like do the final mounting into the case. So there we go. Let's put these screws and this assembly back, and then we'll be pretty good. All right, there's that. Let's get our bottom case. Boom. Oh yeah, look at that. That is sick. Look at those Quins and that brass plate look so freaking good. Oh my gosh. That is a good looking plate. That's a good looking board in general, to be completely honest. So, all right, let's drop this in here. Oh my God, pogo pins make my life like 1,000 times easier. Oh, nice. Yeah, the Seal 80 is going to be super sick. I mean, it'll make a great brown Alps board. I have a ton of TKLs, like all my Geon TKLs. So, like, for the Seal 80, I didn't want to do Alps because I already have enough Alps. Like, I have enough modern TKLs I can convert to Alps. So, being able to do something like Space Invaders would be just to make it more insane is just awesome. So let's put these in, and then we'll get our keycaps on, and we'll do some sound stuff and screw around with the buzzer and the solenoid. And just kind of the layout too. So yeah, this is awesome. So let's get this in here. All right, let's screw this top case and bottom case assembly together. And then we'll get ready to do keycaps. And that's going to make where this thing's really going to come to life, and we'll see the theme come together. So yeah, this is, again, very straightforward build. Again, this isn't like an Alps build stream where we're on here for like 4 freaking hours. So, I mean, if you want to see my Alps content, like when we do Alps build streams, like a client or like modern or vintage Alps build, those things take for freaking ever. So, like, it's kind of refreshing when I get to do a Cherry MX build because they're so quick and they're so easy. Like, Alps are definitely a rabbit hole. The one thing I tell people, if you want to get into Alps, like, I recommend people get into Alps, just understand what you're getting yourself into. It's a lot of work. And they are a labor of love. So, yeah, let's get this last screw in here, and then we'll flip this over, and it's going to be good. All right, it's all good. Thank you so much, man. It's always good. It's always good, everybody. So let's get this one going. So here we go. So here we go with the MM Studio Class 80. So, I mean, not Class 80, Class 65 V3. So that came out really, really nice. So we're going to get ready to start putting keycaps on this puppy. And that's where this thing's really going to come to life. I want to get a window open for GMK Led Zep. Because I want to just have it pick a printout of the particular keycap set. Just so I kind of know what I'm working with. All right, here we go. Yeah, I have a window open up of GMK Led Zep just to get a nice idea of how we want to build this one out. So, all right, we'll start out with our alphas first. So let's put the board up here. Let's get our set out, and we'll kind of go from there. So, cool. All right, let's get this one going. All right, so let's just do our main cluster, and then we'll kind of play around with novelties, kind of figure that out. So, but yeah, this is a really cool set. Again, especially if you're like a rock and roll fan or like a metalhead like me, this is just such a fun, awesome set. I'm so happy I was able to get my hands on it because it just makes I think this was like the perfect selection for this board, and it came out so good. So, all right, we're just gonna do our main cluster first. All right, that one. No novelty for backspace, so we'll do that right there. Cool. Let's do our slash here. And then we'll get it going. Oh, it's such a good choice. Yeah, I mean, the beige, the set's mostly beige, so I figured it was a really good choice for this particular colorway. I bought this board specifically with this keycap set in mind, and that's why I got the beige colorway for this particular board. So this is definitely a selection I wanted to do. Okay, so I'm just looking at, I have my readout of the actual keycap set, just so we can make sure we're sticking on. So we're going to go fancy with the enter in the caps lock. We just want to get our main kind of cluster on here. And then we'll also look at space bars and all that fun stuff. So really, really good. Yeah. So it's this is a really good set. I think this, and again, I was looking at the renderings of GMK Led Zep when the group buy was happening, and my favorite render was with a beige board. So I knew this set would look good on a beige board. So that's why I opted to go with it. So Yeah, just making sure everything looks good. So this is a really, really good looking set. So I'm just trying to get everything on here. Oh, that sounds good. Ooh, I do like that sound. Ooh, that sounds good. All right, let's move this portion off to the side and let's get our space bar on here. Ooh, space bar came out perfect. All right, let's get our arrow keys on here. And then we also are going to start, this is where the character, we're going to kind of have to figure out how crazy I want to go with this. So we're going to go with Caps Rock, everybody. So look at that. That's our first novelty, Caps Rock. Look at that. So going with one of our first novelties right there. So that's going to be sick. So our enter, I think I'm going to go see how that red one looks. Yeah, I think we're going to, yeah, I'm going to see. I'm going to put, that's, I don't know how I feel about the enters just yet. So we're going to hold off on those. Let's get our shifts. Let's get both of our shifts on here. Okay, let's get our other small shift on here. Where the heck are you? There we go. Down here. All right. So another novelty, we'll kind of stick that. Oh yeah, this one's, yeah. Yeah, that sounds really good. So now I'm gonna kind of figure out how I want to do these two rows. So I want to figure out how I want to do it. So I want to look at my R1s really quick and kind of figure out my R1 novelties, because those are ones I really want to figure out how I want to do it. Okay, those are R1, and then these are R1s. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, let's go with, those are my R1s. I can kind of live with those. I want to go to my R2s because that's going to be interesting. Cool, so let's find my R2s. These are R2s. Okay. Let's make sure those line up in terms of profile. Those are good. All right, what are my options for R3 novelties? It's that one and that one. I don't have really good choices for R3s, and then R4s I have way more selection. So, awesome. Those look good. So it's R2 and R3 are always kind of weird. So I'm pretty much locked into those. And then I'll figure out the R1, see what our R4 novelties are. Okay, so my Led Zeps. Okay, Led Zep. Let's find the other one. My other drum set one. Oh, I do have a drum set one, and that was my other lead. Okay, so I think we're gonna go. We're gonna have this say Led Zep right here. I'm gonna leave those right here because I think that's gonna be. And then this rock and roll, I'm gonna put a drum set right here. This is where it's kind of, I gotta like figure, kind of seeing my methodology, my process, and like, how the heck do we figure out what novelties we're putting in this thing? So, gonna kind of see my madness. All right, now we want the rock and roll. Okay, rock and roll. I think we're gonna go. Let me get my keycap puller. We're just figuring out how the heck I want to do this. So, sorry, I'm going very OCD in how I want to do this. So, rock, roll. Alright. We're getting there, everybody. We're getting there. I think I'm going to go with the red accent on this one. And then we got to go with the metal hands right there. So, because how could you not? Okay, give me a minute. I feel like I'm missing something. Give me a second. Huh. Okay. Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out. I feel like I'm missing something. There it is. I think I'm going to put some reds here instead. Yeah, I think I'm going to have this one be matching. Cool. I'm going to have this one go over here. So yeah, you get to see my madness, everybody. So it's all good. Cool. Almost there, folks. And then we're going to have red up there. So we're going to have double hand signs right there. And then the one to kind of round it out, I have the Metal Artisan. So this one's really cool. This Metal Artisan has a knob that you would see on like a guitar amp. So that's going to kind of round out this. Oh man, that's sick. All right, cool. I think we're good. I think I like that. So I think that's going to work. And I think, yeah, so let's put the rest of these away. Let's just take a look at the profiles really quick. And all those profiles line up. Perfect. That looks sick. All right, let's put all these away. All right. Yeah, the novelties definitely make this board really cool. For sure. So there they are. Just missing a couple ISO enters here, so let's just put those in there. And then let's figure out a nice spot I could stick this in here. There we go. There we go. Let's put this keycap set away. This looks amazing. So let's put all that to the side, all that stuff. Let's put my tools to the side, and then let's see how this came out. I want to just see this. This is awesome. I mean, yeah, this does rock. So there we go, friends. Let's take a look at this. That is just amazing. So I think Led Zep was definitely the right choice for this particular board. I think it came out really good, really tasteful. So there we go. So we have GMK Led Zep, and I think that's a color combination I really like. So that's really cool. So now I want to start blasting Led Zeppelin. I want to put on some cashmere. So it should be really sick. So let's plug this in. I want to just see how it's programmed, see if I like how it's programmed. And we'll also screw around with the solenoid and the beeper and do proper sound, how this thing feels now that it's actually built. So there we go. Let's get it going. So we'll put this hex away because we're pretty much done with that board. Don't need that one right now. So let's put that away. Perfect. So let's see how this is going. So okay. We're going to make this delete. I'm just programming this just the way I would do it. Oh, wait. Cool. see how my layers are programmed. Cool. Just setting up my layers. Cool. All right, and then the layout looks pretty good. Awesome. We are looking good. Oh yeah, I want to see the beeps. It's amazing. So, and I'm just going to test my matrix tester really quick just to make sure everything works. All right, that looks pretty good. So let's screw around the beeper. Oh my god, that's amazing. All right, let's turn off that. Ah, that's so obnoxious. Let's turn them both on. That is the most annoying. You want to hear the most annoying keyboard in the world, everybody? Here you go. So let's turn them both off. And let's just hear how the board actually sounds. So let's just unplug it, and then we'll do a little bit of sound how it actually sounds, folks. So yeah. So yeah, folks, that is the Class 65 V3 from Studio. I think this board came out amazing, and I absolutely love it. This thing is awesome, and it's definitely going to make a really cool part of my collection. I'm definitely going to be rocking this in the office tomorrow. And yeah, so folks, just kind of be tuned. Again, I'm going to be working on some photographs of this particular board, and we'll be definitely on the lookout for them on Instagram, Reddit, and also Discord, folks. So have a great evening, folks. We're going to be on here tomorrow. Again, folks, we're going to be on here tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with The Secret from Keybay Tech. So just as a reminder, folks, we are going to be taking a look at The Secret from Keybay Tech. So we do have one of the units here. So if that is a board that interests you, we definitely tune in tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. right here on Twitch. And we're definitely going to be taking a look at this awesome board, folks. So that's going to be really great, folks. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening. The VOD for this board will be up on YouTube later this evening. So have a great evening, everyone.